So welcome to this wonderful cacao ceremony on how to drink some bedtime cacao. So we're going to use ingredients that aid us in producing melatonin naturally, and we are going to do some exercises together in order to release any energy before going to bed. Okay. So I'm going to get us straight in so I can start steeping the tea that's going to go into the cacao. And yeah, so let me just get us straight. And if you haven't done your sensory hearing, this would be the time to do it. Everyone does it differently. Whatever your way of just removing energy is, this is a good thing to teach your kids. After I put the tea to steep, we will be doing a cathartic release. So if you want to wait till then, I can show you a quick method of doing a sensory clearing after that. Okay. So, dear Creator, thank you so much for this divine information. We know that there are no accidents and that anyone watching this video is meant to be here tonight. Thank you so much for the knowledge that is going to be shared here today. And thank you to any divine beings who aid us in the process of releasing tonight. Thank you so much for your presence. Thank you to the four directions for being here tonight. Keeping us safe created. And thank you so much to any ancestors for to receive healing or to come and release with us, or any ancestors who are just here to aid and support us in our journey. Thank you so much for your presence, and thank you for all that you do. Hold you above and below, within and without, and all around me. Connect, please, connect, please. So I'm gonna put my headphones on just because birds are very active tonight. All right, so for tonight's meeting, I am actually using lavender, which is on my altar over here on the side. And this is how much I'm using. You don't need a lot of lavender, okay? For a child, you know, you might want to check your doses. But since we're encouraging the body to produce its own natural lavender, even that is enough, okay? I'm sleeping a lot because I've had a long day. I've been up since 3 a.m. Working. So I am going to give myself a very restful sleep tonight. So everything that we're going to do up until the meditation at the end is going to be for kids and parents to share together, but I'm also doing a bonus hape ceremony where I show you guys how I decompress before bed, sitting with hape, so that I can release anything and help myself so that I don't have any nightmares or anything like that, since for a long time I suffered with night terrors, and I found this cacao hape that has been very beneficial to me, so I'm going to share that with you guys tonight. So here I am. This is my steeping cauldron. It's not a cauldron, obviously. It's a teapot. that actually has this removable tea thing right here. So I'm just gonna let that sit for a little while and just let it be for a minute. So one step I did skip was the cacao. I did it in a pot, and I've got my product right here. It's melted cacao, ready to just get the lavender water put into it and mixed in so that I can partake and so that I can fill my ancestors' cup. So cathartic release. In this particular case, if you don't live in an apartment, I do recommend that you allow your children to do this from time to time, if not every night. So basically, dogs teach us that before bed, it's good to get the zoomies, so that you can get all that pent up energy. Because a lot of times we have this pent up energy and we don't even know where we got it. In a lot of cases, we absorbed it when we were out and about or talking to our friends or family or whatever. But in a lot of cases, that energy isn't ours to begin with. It becomes ours because we pick it up, like, "Ooh, I like, I'm a frequency match for this and I'm going to pick it up and take it with me." A lot of times when we have stuff that we are processing, even as children, we were picking things up, and it's not always healthy, especially when you become someone who's very in tune to other people's emotions, but you're in tune on their needs instead of being in tune to your own needs because of the fact that you were always trying to stay safe. So by staying in tune to these immature adults' feelings, you made sure to keep yourself safe. So now it's about allowing yourself to feel the feelings and release the feelings and teach your children to do the same. So in this particular case, as my instrument, I do like wooden spoons. But this is just a pot lid. It says 50 cents on it, but I didn't pay 50 cents. I got it for free at the end of the garage sales. And I have this pot over here that's full of instruments, that can be used, broken things that can be used as instruments that you can keep somewhere for your children to kind of just make noise. Okay, cathartic release is about releasing emotion. Okay, and this doesn't have to be a long thing. In many cases, if I'm going to be making this much noise, I give myself 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes. That is all it takes to release that if you're actually doing the motions of cathartic release. So by that, I mean actually hitting it as hard as you can. And in many cases, you can even add a vocal sound to it, like ah. So this will get all of that energy up to the surface until you get it out of your system. Okay. So stop scratching, doggy. Give me 1 second. Oh, she stopped. So I'm going to keep it timed for the next 3 minutes. And during this time, I invite you to release some energy with your children. Whoa, that made me break a sweat. So let's take 3 regulating breaths afterward. Okay, so now I'm going to mix the cacao. Put that hot water directly into my cup. You know, I made a lot for myself tonight just because I decided to record this for you guys after finishing up because I thought, wow, what a beautiful way to release things, especially with this full moon that's coming. It's all about releasing old patterns. It's also about releasing old wounds. So, right now, inner child healing is very, very, the portal is wide open for you to really get into focus on those things that we've been carrying since we were children. So, in many cases, these wounds that we carry, we don't remember them as memories. We remember them as it's emotions, spiritually and physically. It's stored in the body in different ways. And it doesn't necessarily have a memory, like a actual, memory with our mind, a memory attached to it. And sometimes we know where it comes from, or we have an idea of where that that stored physical, emotional, or spiritual memory comes from. But in many cases, we have no idea because remember, our mind lies to us. It lies to us quite often since our memories are based on the perception of where we're at the time. If we were in extreme fear, especially fear for your life, you're going to remember things much more differently than if you were in a calm state of mind. And it's crazy how much our mind lies to us in order to protect us. And this is our ego. Our ego tries to protect us, and later on, it overprotects us. And we have to reteach our ego to be our ally and focus on the positive and focus on the fact that the world isn't as scary as our memories, especially fear based perceived memories or traumatic memories, uh, try to convince us that the world is. In many cases, our trauma will try to convince us that the world is scary and we shouldn't be out there. And I know because I almost became a hermit for a couple years. I couldn't leave the house. I didn't leave the house unless I had to. So, in that particular case, my mind was convincing me that every time I left the house, I was either going to get into a car accident or something bad was going to happen to me. So I stopped experiencing life altogether. And it's not the greatest sensation in the world at all. I took this out to readjust myself. My leg was getting numb. So, felt perception is just as detrimental to a child's development. It's very important. So, whenever we don't allow our child to develop emotional intelligence, either because we don't have emotional intelligence or we're continuing the cycle of abuse that our parents did with us, um, we don't allow the child to really develop their felt perception. Now, when a child comes to you, whether it's your child or someone else's child, and that child tells you, hey, you know what? this scared me, or this made me feel whatever, you know. It can be, um, this made me feel, I know I'm readjusting again just so that I can be facing the camera. So this made me feel uncomfortable, or it made my tummy hurt and I don't know why, or there's a million things that kids will come up to you and you're just like, oh, well, just get over it. You know, you'll be fine. They're being honest with you. They are sharing with you what their felt perception is. A lot of times when our intuition is telling us that we are not safe in a room or in a situation, we'll experience it as a tummy upset. Now, I went through this a lot as a child and was ignored for it until I started developing idiopathic pancreatitis as an adult. I realized what was going on with me as a child. Because especially if there was going to be a large or a very important test at school, or I was being bullied at school, which was a very common situation for me. Um, I would start to develop tummy upset, and my mom would make me go to school. If I didn't have a fever and the school didn't send me home, she would make me go to school. And in many cases, when I would vomit in class, especially in the class where I was being bullied because of the stress that I was under, they would send me home anyways. And she'd get very upset with me because there was nothing wrong with me. We'd go to the doctor and there was nothing wrong with me. There was never anything wrong with me. I was under extreme amounts of stress. And because the only physical symptom I had was vomiting, I was accused quite often of just not wanting to do something. And then I developed extreme anxiety where I would grind my teeth. Most of my molars are gone because I've grinded them to a pulp because I have been so trained or conditioned to ignore that anxiety and swallow it so that I can be around society. And this made me very out of touch with my feelings. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because cacao has very gently opened up my heart space so that I can process those emotions little by little without the story behind them. Um, a lot of times, the emotion is simply a tummy upset, and I allow it to come through and pass through me. And we will, after the cacao, we will practice dragon breaths, and we will practice with what helped me, especially before bed, because like I said, you pick up a lot of stuff when you're out and about, and especially if your children are in school age. What I'm about to teach you is going to be extremely helpful for them to release whatever is going on in their physical body, even if they don't know why they're feeling that way. Okay. Um, because sometimes, like, I noticed it a lot with my niece when her friends were being bullied, she'd pick up on that too, and she'd get really nervous and anxious, but she didn't know how to put a word on it. Okay. And teaching your children to name it is the first way to start to alleviate it. Okay, so here I'm going to serve a cup for my ancestors. Let me do this somewhere where it won't make a mess. And we'll put this at the altar for my ancestors. And then I will serve myself some. So, ow, 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 I just got bit by an ant. So, this is really all you need. I'm gonna have a little extra, so I might actually have a little extra, but this is all you need before bed. If you want to have something as big like this, I would dilute it the way I did with the tea. It's not a very strong or potent tea, but it is gonna dilute the cacao a little bit. So while I drink this, I'll discuss why. So some parents shared with me the fear that the cacao, because of the caffeine in cacao, would actually make their children more hyper before bed. Well, that could be the case. but it depends on the cacao. Okay, so sorry, I got some cacao on my foot and I'm getting eaten by ants, so I'm trying to clean it. And I have nothing to clean it with. Okay, well, anyways, so in many cases, I believe that this fear is more based on when your children eat chocolate and get hyper from that. They're not getting hyper from the actual cacao that's inside of the chocolate and in your milk chocolate, your basic Kit Kat bar or Reese's peanut butter cup or whatever. They're getting hyper because of the sugar that's in it. Okay. In my experience with cacao, and I've been using it for quite some, not using, but sitting with cacao for quite some time. I've even learned different methods. I studied with someone to learn about the Wake Healers cacao, and it was very different from what I know and what I grew up doing when sitting with cacao. Because when I was in Mexico, my tias, whenever they wanted me to open up to them, they would make me a cup of cacao and give it to me. Now, in many of these cases, because we were so used to the sugar products, they would add in some sugar, some cane sugar, or honey, or panocha prieta, I think it's called, and it's just like this really sweet candy. Um, but in many cases, like today, this one has absolutely no sugar in it, no honey, no anything like that. That bitter taste is actually very good for my palate because it's actually cleansing my palate. But it also, in my body, and I'm sharing my experience because every individual is going to have a different experience to cacao. In my body, it feels like it relaxes my nervous system and it opens up my heart space. Um, as a coffee drinker, I never experienced being high strung off caffeine. It was always off the sugar. But I realized that that's because caffeine is actually very good for a person with ADHD and who exhibits symptoms of ADHD. The caffeine actually helps us maintain levels of normalcy. So if your fear is that the cacao is going to keep your children awake, you're only adding one spoonful of cacao. I showed you the spoonful, and that part of it went to my ancestral cup, and part of it is what I'm drinking. Okay. As I mentioned before, you're not using that much cacao, so there's no reason why it should be keeping your children awake. But that's what the lavender tea is for as well, because it also relaxes the nervous system and it is very beneficial for the production of melatonin. It's why lavender is added to a lot of melatonin pills because lavender does aid in the production of melatonin. Okay, so as I said before, if that is your fear that your children are not going to sleep and they're going to keep you awake, then I would definitely, I would test it out um, because it's a very common assumption, and we all know what assumptions are. You know, you're making an ass out of you and me. Until you try it, you won't really know how each one of your children are going to react with it. And one recipe may not be good for all your children. You know, you might need a separate recipe or ingredients for each one of your children. So I wouldn't start with anything stronger than lavender or chamomile, but I have had cacao with chamomile. It can be also very relaxing and it can be very to me chamomile grounds me. It's not like lavender. Lavender will calm my physical pain, but it will also help me produce melatonin. um, I don't drink lavender during the day because it makes me extremely sleepy, but I can drink chamomile all day. So you see, it relaxes me and it grounds me, but it doesn't put me to sleep. So Test it out. Each one of your children are going to be different. And then another one that can be used is catnip. Believe it or not, a couple leaves of catnip can be very relaxing to the nervous system. Now, catnip is a little stronger, in my opinion, than lavender is. So, a little less than those three little stems that I showed in the beginning, you know, a little less than that stem might be what you want to try with your children, especially if they're not teenagers, if they're under 10 years old. You want to use less of it or you want to dilute it more. Like, let's say your kid wants something this big for bedtime, you're going to dilute it. And it's perfect because by diluting it, you're actually giving them a little bit of hydration as well, especially when your kids don't want to drink water before bed. So all of these things can be extremely, extremely beneficial to the physical, spiritual, and emotional bodies. Okay. So we did our cathartic release. And the next thing we're going to do, and if you can stand up and do it, I don't have enough light out here to stand up and do it. If I stand up, you might not be able to see what I'm doing, but I'm going to turn the camera down so that you can see what I'm doing with my body. So if you live in an apartment, you want to teach your kids to do their dragon's breath quieter. That doesn't mean that they're not going to expel as much energy as if they were like, oh, you know, like pushing it out. And that's not the sound a dragon makes, obviously. I'm just giving an example. So basically, for the next part, you're going to have them imagine, like, every person does their dragon's breath differently. But since we're working in the heart space and in the solar plexus right here, I'm going to have you breathe into your pelvic area and then push it out with sound. Imagine that you're breathing in and it's forming this giant ball of energy. You know, if you want to move like that and form your giant ball of energy before you push it outward. Now, I don't want you guys to push it to each other, like parents to kids or kids to each other. No, no, no. We're going to push it out and you can have like a candle flame, like the one I just lit, or you can have, you guys can send it to the moon, or you can send it to the earth, or you can have a cup of water that they can send it to. And when you guys are done doing the exercises, take the cup outside and return it to the earth. You can also have a plant that you guys send it to inside of the house, in their bedroom, whatever element that your children connects to the best. Okay. And we're going to get a little more into the elements when I get into the hape ceremony. So, you know, kids don't need the explanation of the elements. They especially don't need to know the associations and everything to feel close to one element or another. Now, if your child loves to take baths, they are most likely more in tune with water than they are with anything else. But if your child likes to play in mud, they might be more in tune with the earth element. If they're really into wind chimes or the sound of sounds in general, a lot of times the wind element is going to be helpful. If you have a little pyromaniac that likes to play with flames, you know, maybe a candle might be what's most beneficial for them. Okay. But under supervision, you know, you don't want to leave them alone with a candle. Working with the flame, you know, people used to always judge me or think that there was something wrong with me because I was playing with fire, but it's just an element that calls to me. And I never hurt myself playing with fire. On the contrary, it was all about healing and burning what no longer served within me. Okay. So, all right, we're going to do our dragon's breath. We're going to breathe deeply into our pelvic area. And we're going to make our ball of energy to push out into whatever element you're going to be working with tonight. Okay. Push the air out. I'm trying to be a little quiet because the birds are making enough noise and I don't want to wake up the neighbors. But again, if you guys want to be like, oh, you know, whatever it is that serves you, look, it quieted them out. Whatever it is that serves you, we're going to practice this up to 15 times. Okay. So for every individual, it's going to be different. You know, some of us calm down with 3 breaths, some of us calm down with 10 breaths, some of 20, you know, whatever it is that is best for you. And like I said, if you want to add motion into it, stand up, you know, push out, like curve your back to send that ball of energy away from you. And like I said, you're taking in clean mana or clean air, whatever you want to call it, clean power, clean life force. You're going to let it collect all that doesn't serve you that you picked up during the day. And with intention, you're going to send it to whatever element you are working with tonight, okay? Oh. Ah. Ah. Coughing is good, guys. Coughing is very good. Ah. 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 And if you're feeling hot, that's a good thing, guys. It means you are moving and pushing energy. Keep going. Ah. 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 All right. And to end our dragon breaths, we're gonna shake it off. Literally, if you want to put that song on, you know that Taylor Swift song, that "Shake It Off," you know we're gonna shake it off, and you'll feel if you were feeling hot like I am, you after you shake it off and send it to those elements, just remove it, take it all off. Like I said, sensory clearing. This is a shaking sensory clearing. You are literally going to shake it all out of your body. If you need a rattle, you know, and you own a rattle, this is a great time to pull that rattle out. You can shake it on your body, on different parts of your body to remove it. This is a form of sensory clearing. You're going to allow the sound of the rattle to remove it. If not, just shake it off. Just, you know, just let it go. I get too into these clearings, man. Is there a too into it? So basically, that has taken us a full 30 minutes, a little over 30 minutes. That's literally all it takes. My nervous system is now so relaxed that I don't like, I don't feel overwhelmed by the day. And I am tired, but I'm not in a mode of exhaustion because movement will actually give us a little burst of energy before we fall asleep. It's why dogs will get the zoomies before bed. They'll run around and let it all out and release everything and be done with it before going to bed. They don't take anything from the day with them. And I read a meme once that if you wanted to learn about unconditional love, watch an animal, watch a dog, especially. Dogs are all about unconditional love. You can make the mistake of yelling at them, and they are very forgiving. And the very next day, it's like that never happened. Sometimes we do face, come on, bud. Sometimes we do see animals that are very traumatized after abuse, but after being a few years with um, a stable household, in many cases, those animals will go back to their normal, playful, forgiving selves because in reality, Creator sent these little angels, oh, little angel, to show us how to take care of ourselves, how to love unconditionally, how to forgive, how to let go, and how to be mindful. Because they don't have a mind full of crap. Oh no, no, no. They're very mindful beings that do, and when they're allowed to, that take self-care to another level. Um, in my case, I allow Bella to let me know when I'm over, because sometimes I'll have bursts of energy and I'll sit there bugging her until she gets pissed off, and I let her growl at me, or in many cases, she'll nip at my fingers. She'll never bite hard, but she nips to let me know, hey, I'm done giving. And I know that people take offense with comparing animals with children, but in this case, Bella is very much like my child. She's also very much like my best friend. She's also very much like my service animal, which she is. But by allowing her to express herself, she tells me what she needs. If she needs space, if she needs to get away from whatever environment I have. I even have a little playpen for her so that when I'm at work, she can practice self care. I give people warnings, like if she growls at you, please give her space because she wants to be left alone. A lot of times we don't permit children to do that, especially when we're at family events. We'll expect our child to be in the presence of all kinds of chaotic shit, um, just because we want to be at that party or that gathering, and we're not taking into consideration the overstimulation it's causing our children. And I see it with my family's kids all the time, and it makes me sad because all I want to do is tell them it's okay to want to hide, because as a child I always wanted to hide and I was never permitted that. My mom would keep me there, and when I was overstimulated and I would act out, oh no, I was the one being a crybaby or a brat, because by then I was so overstimulated I didn't know how to calm down my nervous system. And instead of getting my mother's assistance, her, my tias, my cousins would all make fun of me because I would start crying and I was a total crybaby and I would throw shit, I would break shit. And they always thought it was because I didn't like losing at games, but it had nothing to do with the game. It was the fact that I was overstimulated, that I couldn't handle it. I didn't know what was happening in my body. I didn't know how to ask for what I needed. And instead of being taken to another room where I could nap or where I could rest or where I could be away from it, I was made fun of consistently and all the time. And it damaged my emotional intelligence, and it made me very, very numb. Like I could not tap into it. Like 3 years ago, I was still having difficulties tapping into my emotions, and cacao, doing it regularly, sitting with cacao regularly has been very beneficial. In today's case, I'm using the Mayan wisdom cacao, just because I didn't bring with me my dreamers cacao, which I got from Four Visions Market. And that dream one is one little circle that you can literally put into a small cup like this and make yourself a little cup of cacao. When I'm camping and I don't have all my tools to make my cacao, I put that little disc right under my tongue. I take a piece of it and I return that to the earth, but the other piece, I put it right under my tongue. It doesn't need to be served as a tea. The reason that I do it this way, because that ceremonial part is what gets the family involved and together, so that you can together process it. Because a lot of times kids will carry their parents' emotions for them, because their parents need to have a safe face. You know, we can't show too much emotion when we're around our kids. Lord forbid that they know how we truly feel. They already know how you truly feel, whether you're showing it or not. So expressing it and processing it in front of them in a healthy manner actually shows them how to process it and show it to the world in a healthy manner, because there's nothing wrong with showing emotion. There is nothing wrong with having a reaction to something that's being done to you. There is nothing wrong with being overstimulated. In many cases, we all get overstimulated, but we don't say anything because we're adults and we have to just be quiet and save face. I'm not that kind of adult. I guess that I'm just this child that doesn't know how to act. But in my opinion, I act very well. I concentrate on my self care. If things are becoming too much, I walk away. If I'm tired, I go to sleep. Even if it's making me feel left out, those are my own emotions that I need to process, because it's conditioning. I was always told that I was being left out and that I just wasn't cool enough to be part of the activities because I wanted to take a nap. I guess I'm just not cool enough. But I've learned that it doesn't matter if I'm cool enough to anyone else. I'm cool enough for myself. And that's what matters, because I'm taking care of myself. And in the process, I am showing that sovereignty to the next generation. And hopefully, by me standing my ground, you know, the ones who come after me will also feel safe enough to express themselves and say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay that I'm left out today, because the right people will never make me feel left out. Because essentially, when you start giving yourself everything that you need, you never feel left out. Occasionally, the parasite will pop into your head, but learning that that's just an old emotion, something old and buried that is coming up, you know, being triggered is a beautiful gift, the most beautiful gift a person can give you, because they are bringing to the surface what needs to be processed, what needs to be let go, what needs to just no longer have space within your life, within your body, within your emotional, spiritual, or physical bodies, which is as a whole. We finished that. We finished removing. Okay, so that was it for the cacao for the children. I'm going to set up for the hape ceremony. And if you want to go put your kids to bed, I would pause it now and go put your children to bed. And if you do have hape, you know, I've sat with different forms of hape many times, um, in many occasions, and I can't remember all the names of the different hapes that I've sat with, but they all have a different reaction to me. But I have noticed that if I do it with the intention of bedtime hape, it never affects my sleep. Some people fear that hape will actually affect their sleep because it has nicotine in it, but some of them don't even contain nicotine. You can actually find hape blends that do not contain nicotine, or that contain a very minimal amount of nicotine compared to the other hapes. Okay, so whatever it is that you, if you're going to join me for the hape, this would be the time to pull it out. I will show you the one I have, and it's called Mun- Munai Kura Cacao Heart Opening Hape. So, and I know that some of us will say, "Oh, that's not how you spell hape," or "That's not how you pronounce it." Out of respect for the Native American cultures that spell it RAPE, we respect them by calling it hape and spelling it this way. Because unless it's, and I have had hape in the other forms when I'm sitting with other individuals who do pronounce it differently. I've never heard rape like with an R. It's always sounded like hape to me, but they say it with an accent. So it's going to be very different, but out of respect, I say it the way I was taught to say it because this is something that I was introduced to about a little over a year ago, and it has been very beneficial um, for my night terrors. So if you're someone who struggles with, let's say you just dream too much, or you dream too little, or you can't remember your dreams, or your dreams are just terrifying. In many cases, those night terrors or terrifying dreams are are things that need to be processed. And once you start to process them, in my particular case, my dreams have become more vivid, and I've been doing a lot more dream walking, but without feeling exhausted the next day, or without feeling sick, or without disassociation. And we'll get into it as soon as we're done preparing, okay? Okay, so it just came to my awareness that I didn't tell you what to do with the cacao for the ancestors. So I have an outdoor altar here that is high enough where Bella can't get into. Bella is my dog. And that is where I dump it out. In many cases, I will actually, here's some sacred smoke if you would like to baptize yourself before we start our hape ceremony. Take that in wherever it is that you feel you need it. And so, yeah, I will most of the time dig a hole. If I'm working with any stones or herbs, like the herbs that I use for my tea, I will also place those inside of the hole with um, my offering to the ancestors and to just honor the cacao that I've just ingested. Okay, so before I get too tired, let's do let's sit with our hape. This is going to take about half an hour to go through the whole process. And I invite you to really give yourself permission to fall into yourself and just allow yourself to really be with yourself, because essentially this ceremony is a self-care ceremony. Okay, I know hape is used for a million different reasons. In this particular case, it is for self-care. So if I'm having a stressful day, or I'm having an overwhelming day, sometimes I won't even sit with hape, because then I'll just purge. And in some cases, that is what I need, and I will sit with hape if my guides say that's what's best. But if I'm just having an overwhelming day, a lot of times cacao is all I sit with, and the hape is left for a different time. The rest of the time, I do it with the intention of not having night terrors and in developing my dream walking abilities, because for a while I was kind of, um, I guess, going into other people's energetic fields in my sleep. And that can be very uncomfortable for them. So, again, we're going to do our sensory clearing. And I always do it different depending on what I feel is what I need. So let's go through some of the breaths that I've learned from different practitioners. Okay. So the first time I sat with hape, the practitioner who was administering the hape to me administered what she called el venado, or the deer, right? So it was very swift. And for a while, that is the type of breath that I would use. But every time it was me purging. So I do have my purging dish here. Usually I have a porcelain one, but in this case, this is what I could find. Um, and if I do end up purging, this goes to the same altar where I send the cacao, but in its own separate bowl from the cacao, because one is an offering, the other is returning what I purged to the earth. Okay, some people will do it into the flame and let the flame take it. In this particular case, I'm going to let the earth take it, if that is what's going to happen. So that is el venado swift. The other ones that I have learned is the turtle or tortoise, which is the one I'm working with now. And it's very slow and consistent. And it's when I'm pushing the hape into my nose. And and it's teaching me about slowing down and remaining present through every step of the way. Okay. So in many particular cases, we try to go through life way too fast, and we don't take it in fully. So I've been working with the turtle and tortoise to aid me in that particular department. Now, the other one that I haven't tried it on myself, but I was taught by another practitioner, um, who asked, not like, I didn't ask the other people whether I could name them, so I haven't named them, but this particular one asked not to be named. And for him is the ran, when he works with the frog. And what he taught me about the frog and what I've read about the frog is basically being true to yourself and honoring your process. And the reason he came up with, I don't know if he was the one who came up with the frog or if he was taught the frog. But he's like, no, I would try to sit with the tortoise or the turtle, and I couldn't, because he would start the breath and he would be like slowly, but then he would have to be like, or he would go to really push it through. So multiple breaths. So basically, the way he described it to me, the frog is just skipping the breath. It doesn't matter if you're doing it swift like the deer, but you're doing in motions instead of all the way through, or slowly like tortoise, but also skipping. So, I haven't tried the frog. I haven't been called to try the frog. Again, honor yourself, whatever is best for you. Those are just the methods that I have particularly become kind of fond with. So for today's particular one, because we are releasing, um, I'm actually going to take a little bit out of a book that I've been reading, which is The Presence Process. And before I sit with habit, I always do a minimum of 9 minutes of breathing through my nose. And sometimes, if I'm feeling very stuffy, I'll start with one side. And I usually do anywhere from 3 to 5 breaths each side before switching out. Okay. Um, I've even done up to 20 breaths on one side before I switch to the other. But in order to save some time, we're going to do 9 minutes through the nose. Okay. And just in and out through the nose, so that we can clear those channels before we sit with habit. And in this particular case, you can actually repeat something to yourself to change core beliefs within you. It's a form that I've learned of working with my core beliefs. In this particular case, in the honoring the moon that is coming up, because this is for the next couple nights, this is going to be my ceremony for myself. But in honoring it, I'm going to repeat in my mind, I am safe to feel my emotions. I am safe to feel my emotions that no longer serve me to be processed out. I am safe to feel my emotions that no longer serve me so that they may be processed out. You can cut that short. That's just what I will be repeating in my head. So let's do our 9 minutes, and I will be timing it on here. Okay. And you can repeat these things to yourself out loud, but remember you're going to be using your mouth. And before sitting with habit, we want to clear that nose. So that's why I'm repeating it in my head. So in this case, I combined my breathing with tapping. Since I'm not strictly following to the rules of the presence process, I am following and honoring my own body. And my body requested the tapping because I felt the emotions getting trapped right here in my chest and then in my crown. I allowed my body to release it through tapping. Now, tapping can be done with our fingers like this. It can be done with our fingers like this. It can be done with 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, whatever it is that your body's calling for. Especially in the head area, I like to use bear claws. A lot of times in the shoulder when I'm releasing the tension right here, and helping my left shoulder really stretch up here, I will use bear claws, and I will help it with the support of this arm. And it gets our stretches moving even when we have difficulty moving certain areas of our body. In order to release tension, we tap, and bear claws is one of my favorite ones to do. So I went ahead and readjusted my body so that I could be more comfortable. I'm now cleaning the mucus that my breathing brought to the surface. Um, After you're done doing your breathing, you can also do the shaking. I really enjoy the rattle, so I like to shake it off with the rattle. But, shake it off however it is that you feel like shaking it off. Especially if you're like me and you're processing a lot of old stuff out of your system. Um, the actual tapping against the skin, because for the longest time my left leg was completely numb from the hip to the knee, and now it's the knee is starting to wake up. So a lot of these exercises are kind of like dry brushing, but you're tapping and energetically brushing your skin to be able to get the function, the full nervous system function. Because a lot of times what happens when we numb our emotions, our physical body will actually become numb because our nervous system will then become numb. And our entire body is composed of nerves all over the place. It's not the only thing in there, but they're everywhere. So, yeah, numbing literally means you are numbing yourself. So, I like to have smudge on whenever I am sitting with hape. And I'll show you the different ways that I use it for myself. I am going to do our pray us in for our hape. Um, and I did not close the ceremony for the kids with you guys, but remember, do your bedtime prayers, and that is the best way that you can close ceremony whenever doing a cacao ceremony with yourself, your closing prayers. I'll show you when I close up the hape ceremony as this entire video as a whole, okay? So remember, we're only sitting with about a pea size of hape. We never want to overuse medicine. Obviously, there's lessons within that if you do end up overusing the medicine. The medicine itself will teach you its lessons. So pea size. Again, I will be sitting with the tortoise and turtle energy and breath. So do whatever honors you. Remember, keep in mind you may purge, always keep a dish handy in case that is what happens. Okay. So again, dear, Okay, that still had a little bit in it. So deer, that's what it should sound like. I don't know if you can hear it. Tortoise or turtle. Consistent long breath. And frog. So choose whatever is best for you or whatever is calling you at this time. Oh, I did not pray a sit. And I said it in my head, but I didn't say it out loud. Creator, thank you so much for this divine appointment. Thank you for our presence here. Thank you for the tools that you are giving us. And thank you for this opportunity to be together because there is no mistakes. Anybody watching this was meant to watch this. Anybody who is putting it into practice was meant to put it into practice. And thank you to any divine beings who are helping us within this practice. Thank you to our ancestors who have come forth to receive the medicine, to release with us, or even just to hold space for us and support us on our journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And so it is, above and below, within and without, and all around me. Shaneshti, Shaneshti, Shaneshti. All right, now I'm going to set my own intentions for my hape, and you should do yours as well, however it is that you set your intentions for it, whether it's in writing or verbally or through manifestation, meditation, or prayer. However it is that you connect to Creator, this is a time to do so. So now we're going to get into a meditation that will guide you through the elements and through the release of old wounds through the elements. Okay? So if you would like to join me in this meditation, you can lay down for this. You can sit up, whatever feels right to you. Um, Remember, don't blow your nose. If you need to, wipe whatever's coming out of your nose. If any tears arise, remember to wipe those tears onto your body because that is medicine for your body. Wherever you feel tightness, place those tears wherever it is that you feel that you need them. Okay. Um, Another thing that I said I would show you is that whenever you feel tightness, if you do have a smudge going, I like to place it wherever I'm feeling the tightness. Like right now, I feel the tightness in my sinuses up here because so much mucus is coming out that that releases the tightness. Obviously, be careful, do not burn yourself wherever it is that you feel it. Go ahead and do that for yourself. You can also take some of this in with you. As we know, medicine travels through the ethers. Taking some deep breaths in through the nose, slow, deep breaths. Now, I want you to follow the darkness behind your eyelids. Walk with it, moving forward and deeper into that darkness behind your eyelids. With each breath, we are inviting the element of air into our body as it works its way through our respiratory system to cleanse us from within. In this case, push whatever no longer serves you out through your mouth. Now you can feel tightness in your back, chest, tummy, even in your hips because the emotions are starting to arise. So just keep breathing, inviting the element of air to cleanse us from within. Now, as you're moving forward through that darkness, you begin to feel soil below your feet, magnetizing you to the earth as we invite the element of earth into our body, cleansing us through the soles of our feet. With every breath, we invite the element of earth to remove what no longer serves us. Any elements that are too high in our body, removing them, transmuting them, and transforming them into what our body actually needs. So with that air and that earth working together, these two elements removing what no longer serves us. Don't try to judge what's coming up for you, just allow it to be. And as we find a comfortable spot to sit in this beautiful earth that we have found, the perfect type of earth for you, whether it's grass, sand, or anything else, just allowing it to be removed from the body. Now we invite the element of fire, that fire that lives within us, igniting and motivating us every single day, that fire that lives within us, that burns from the deepest depths of our solar plexus and heart space, burning away what no longer serves us. Working together with the elements of air and earth and fire, all three elements coursing through our entire body. Allow it to remove everything that comes up, burning it to ash. And as you take more deep breaths, we now invite the elements of air and water together, because every breath of air we take contains droplets of water. Reminding us of the water that courses through our veins. Now allowing it to remove what no longer serves us through our veins and through our urinary tract system, our kidneys and all those wonderful organs that detoxify our body and remove things through our waste. Now that we've invited all four of these elements to work together, imagine them coursing through your entire body, cleansing and removing what no longer serves us. As we lay here in our perfect soil, we invite the elements of spirit and consciousness into our body, into our soul. As we relax here, and I'm actually going to lay down for this so that I can really invite that element. So get yourself comfortable. And allow your body to tune in to all five of these elements coursing through your entire body. Bringing clarity, reminding us of the joy that lives within us. Sad and happy. Let us drift back and forth.
and by a spiritual gate that is the earth, allowing the sky element to perfect action. Allow yourself to see that the spirit is so large that just experience for a pleasure, vastly thought back what is wrong every organ through your bloodstream, whether or out
If you have any mucus, go ahead and remove that. For some of us, right now would be a good time to blow our nose. And so this meditation can be done with or without hape. I'm sharing it with you guys so that you can practice releasing throughout the next couple of days. As most of us know, we can tap into the full moon energy 5 days in advance. It is most potent 3 days before and 3 days after the full moon. Giving yourself permission to really, really just release as much as you can. For this is one of the most powerful portals we have had in a very long time, with this blue moon being in August. Um, and really just allowing us to close this Lionsgate portal with really just maximizing our space in order to call in all those wonderful things that we're calling in at this time. So with that, I'm going to close down the circle. And again, you can do this with your children after your cacao ceremony with them. And I call them ceremonies, but you know, like if I'm going to use the Mayan Wisdom Project as an example, they wouldn't call what we do ceremonies. But because I've been getting back into ritual and really ritualizing my daily activities so that I would actually do them, because meditating sometimes feels like a job, but a ritual of meditation sometimes can be a lot more fun. Um, and really finding that joy within your rituals, or that joy within your daily activities, because even grocery shopping can be like performing a ritual. You make your list of ingredients that you need, and then you're gonna go buy your ingredients, and then you're gonna make this fabulous dinner that's going to support the health of your family. And really bringing that prayer into the cooking process, like we did with our cacao. We can do this with our food, because essentially food is medicine. Okay, so really teaching yourself to do this can be beneficial both for you and your children, um, because you're now teaching them to honor themselves and be in tune with themselves. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and do a sensory clearing to remove what came up for me during this hape ceremony. And I'm just going to wipe that off and give it to the fire. Um, and just allow yourself to be free and joyful. Thank you so much, Creator, for this divine appointment. We know that there are no accidents, and that everything that you shared with us here today is a sacred, sacred knowledge of self-care. Thank you to the divine beings who were present during this entire process. Thank you to the four directions for guarding us as we went deep into ourselves. Thank you to any ancestors who came forth to receive, release, or just hold space and be present here with us today. We release you all. If you wish to go, if you wish to stay, I invite my ancestors and my divine team to stay with me. It's all about choice, and I welcome your presence in my life and in my path. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is, above and below and all around me. Shona Eshku, Shona Eshku, Shona Eshku. Okay, thank you. So thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. And for those of you who weren't able to make it, I hope that this video shares the most important or not important, but like what you need to be able to do this process on your own for yourself, for your family, and for anybody else that you wish to share this with with the share this with, um, because having information, loads and loads of information and knowledge, well, no, information in general, and not sharing it is not really, it's just knowledge, it's just pent up knowledge. But when we share it, it becomes wisdom. That knowledge becomes wisdom, and it changes from person to person as they adapt it and embody it in their own way. So I hope that you take this and you take it with a grain of salt or sugar, however you wish to take it, and make it your own. There is no rules here. There is no rules in spirituality. Everybody's spirituality is going to be different, and trying to hold each other to each other's standards is not beneficial to anyone. Not to you if you're trying to hold others to your standards, because you're going to get exhausted, and not to yourself, like to others if you're trying to hold them up to that, because a lot of times that will actually push them away from the spiritual path. So go forth and share this knowledge. I love you guys and have a beautiful night.